Yeah, it's just such a privilege for me to be with you on this morning, and thank you, Pastor, for allowing me to be part of this service. And the time that we spend the next few minutes, and we want to see actually what the Lord has stored for us today. And I believe, there is nothing in an accident in our own life, and especially this today, there's a lot of uncertainties happens. And people are so scared about it. Somebody goes out and coming in, very scared about it, in our own family members. So it is uncertain days that we are in. And in these days, something that we need to be really strike off it. And this morning, that is what my topic to be discussed today and to listen today. I know that actually God has been healing us across our globe. And people are, affected by COVID, and some people have lost their life. And, there is a lot of mixed emotions that we face today. The mixed emotion, especially as a Christians, especially as a children of God, we have a great hope. And it says, yeah, we can see one day. But then, the kind of dismiss our own dear ones is always painful. But there is a thing that, we need to be taken care on this moment. And that is our emotions. And today, it's a very heartening part. The things around and happening, whether it's in a Bollywood or whether it's in villages, whether in anywhere, it's a very hardening heart to the news that we heard that every day. And people are taking away their life. What is the reason to it? And before we begin this talk, I want to give you 3 requests to join with me to be making this time very beneficial. The one thing I want to say actually to give attention into your own life. When you hear this, give an attention to it. Sometimes, when we heard God's word, and we always push to say this was somebody. But this morning, I want to just give you an attention to that. Think about your own life. What we can do, what is the Lord is dealing us to. And another thing actually we need to give an attention to your feelings. Your thought that generating in your heart. Especially I'm going to talk about the emotions. So we need to think about it. You give an attention to your feelings. No matter actually wherever you are, in a couch or, a dining table, or you sit somewhere, and wherever you are, gives attention to your own feelings. And also the another thing my request actually permit to engage in. Don't be a spectators. But I want to say actually, Lord, just give us a prayer in your own heart to get engaged in. So I want to just straight jump into my topic, the emotion. What are the basic emotions that we feel? And thank you. What are the emotions that we face it? The basic emotions we heard about: happiness, sadness, and fear and anger. That is a basic. You had 4. The emotions, maybe a lot of other, emotions are, along with that. But there is a statistics says that there's 4 basics, the sessions of basic emotions. And then, it's also the core effects. One of these things is the happiness is always connected with a reward. And the sadness is always connected with the punishment. And the stress, the fear and anger. That's two emotions that are clutched together, are called the stress. And today's world, and that's what is happening around us actually, that people are stressed out. It's not because of, the reason that they don't have a job or they don't have money or anything, but that's something that people are really anchored, and, the fear about it. It's a mixed emotions which really people to be slaves of it. That's what we are really thinking about today. So I'm also going to we're going to discuss on that thought. How do we manage our stress? How do we manage our stress? Sometimes, we, as any other thing, we usually talk about habits and other things. When you start building up on our own habits and behavior, it last long. And the same kind of thing. The behavior, if we don't take an inventory of our own behavior, it's become a too danger for us. And that's what happens actually when people have been stressed out, and then a period of time they find themselves is nowhere because they feel immune with that. they lost the immunity, and then they're senseless with the thing, and that's what happens actually. People have been, they end their life. And recent days, we have been, late actor Sushant Singh Rajput. He was a film in the media. I mean, everywhere the news happens actually. He's not only alone. It's a very contagious thing. And I heard the news that's saying that, some Bihar, somebody, hey, if he does it, even he does it, why can't I do it? Man, it's such a contagious, the feeling and the act of that. It is not only, Sushant has been. There are a lot of, I'm just pull up few names. Robin Williams is one of these actors and comedians in 2014. And he's such a great, talented artist. And he hung himself and died. And then another wrestler, even in this year, 2020, Hana Kimura. It's not about the money. Something that we always think about, is that money people that end life? No. There is something beyond that. WHO, we talk about, the World Health Organizations talk about, India is one of the top in the mental disorder. It says that, 2014's statistics, 6.5% Indian population suffer some forms of serious mental disorder. Is it alarming? And you walk around from out of 100, 6 people, 6.5. And it says that India's the highest, and then get them in China, and then it becomes, for third is the United States and Brazil. Another alarming thing, the average suicide rates in India is at 10.9 per lakh. Wow. Is that hardening our heart? It's alarming. And it also says about below 45 years of age. And it's alarming thing. As a church, what are we going to do with this? As a parents, and sometimes say that it doesn't connect to us. It's around the world, but it's in our homes, and when it happens in our homes, it's not very far. And how much we taken care, and with our own actions, something is so easy to take or say that I'm pushing people to be get productive. That's one of this, the corporate world. The stress is good, so they become more productive. Where are we pushing them? Educationalist. Every the end results comes in month of March, and how many suicides will be heard? And where are we? Our educational systems, our parents, our parenting, and how much we about it actually then. So it's an alarming part. I thought it would be good for sometimes the symptoms and all, our time is running out, and we want to see actually, even in the Sunday when we talk about from the church platform is about emotions. Is this Bible says about the emotions? Yes, very, very much true. I'm going to talk about a few things about it. One is the thing actually that, what does the Bible talk about the emotions? And the second thing will be men of God gone through this emotional struggles. And what is the spiritual reality? What does the Bible says about this? The emotion called anxiety and the stress and all. And how do we tackle this? There is a few things, and I'm just to be, we need to rush into those points. And what does the Bible talk about the emotions? And I'm trying to, make myself to see that too. How do I prove that? If you're looking at the words, it's from Proverbs 16, verse 32. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. It's just talk about the emotion, the anger. How are you going to, manage your anger? It's just Proverbs talking about it. And the Ephesians 4:26 to 27. Be angry and do not sin. And do not let the sun goes down on your anger, and give no opportunity to evil. Is that the God? Is that Spirit is talking about? Is the Bible talk about the emotions? And the Proverbs 25:28. A man without self-control is like a city broken. into and left without walls. Think about it. As a man without a self-control. As the Bible talk about it. Talk about the emotions. How do we control our emotions? How do we take care of it? How do we take inventory of our emotions? Galatians, we said the very famous words. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace. These are the emotions. These are the fruits that comes out of our emotions. And in this morning, I want to challenge. I hope I'm able to convince you. Actually, the Bible strongly talk about, emotions in our life. And we need to be taken inventory of it. How are we going to, if we don't even take an inventory of it, it becomes so much accumulated. We never knew how much we have, stock in our own thing, and we never feel about it. That's what sometimes happens. When people are stressed out, and months after months, and then they lose the control, they lose the senseless, they lose the sensitivity of it, and then they fall into say that they do whatever, and we feel it. Why did you harm themselves? So that is the period. It's a very dangerous things when you think about our own. If we don't take our own inventory of our own. Emotions, what happens to it? You need to look through it. See what happens to our emotions. And we look at through that, throughout the Bible, there are the men of God, real men. They are not supernatural. They have been men just like us. That's what James talk about Elijah. Just like us, just like a human, just like men of us like. And one who brought the, fire. So that's what James is talk about. He brought the fire and is encouraging us. Hey, you have that power to be grab and you closer to the Lord. So I want to just to pick up, the men like Elijah. I'm sorry. It's a great man of God. It's a great man of God. And we never seen it. Such a passion in his life. Such a passion in his own life. To see work for God and stand for God. And we see in the chapter, 1 Kings chapter 18. And he sees that, and he stand out. The season is not very good for him. And he stands out and to King Ahab and says that, hey, King Ahab, let's meet in, Mount Carmel. The situation is that, and his wife, Ahab's wife, Jezebel, is killing all his, godly men of, the prophets of God of Israel. And they're killing left and right. And here is a man of God comes and straight into us, comes and say that, hey, Ahab, let's meet in Mount of Carmel. And that is what is courage. And he said, bring up 450, prophets of Baal and prove that if it is there, Baal is real. And I'll be there for alone. And God of Israel to bring, God of Israel is real. At the end of the day, we all knew the story. God of Israel came out and, with a one prayer, you see that, Elijah took up a step and says, he want prayer, and God answered him. And it's when chapter 19, and you see a different kind of Elijah, and it's and he is so fearful, and he ran for his life. And think about as a I know actually what is the time period in between, but then the very next instance, we see Elijah stands out and say that, woo, I can't. It says that, word chapter 19, word says that when Elijah has received the message from Jezebel messenger, verse 2, 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 2. So many goddesses, so may the goddess do to me even more if I don't make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. Maybe it is a very common instant. The very next day, Jezebel declared it, says that if I'm not going to do it, let my God do something about it. And where Elijah knew what is a God who is Jezebel serve. The moment of, the emotions that we surge into it, and we lose the control. One of the symptoms that when we have this emotional, the fear and, that anger that comes in, we lose the control. We lose the control of, our cognitive thinking ability to think proper. We miss that some of the studies says that, it's a behavior pattern, something that says that they eat more. So that's what happens when people are stressed out. And then they say that they lose a memory, inability to concentrate, and they make a poor judgment. I think that's what happened to Elijah. He went into a poor judgment of his God whom he served a day before. And that is the story of Elijah. And he was so afraid and ran for life. And there are three things we want to see, look at, Elijah's life. Words 4, it says that, and he left his servant and he took a journey to wilderness. Maybe we can read 3. He was afraid and rose and ran for his life and come to Beersheba, which belonged to Judah. And this is another country. He was in Israel and ran away into the other country, Judah, and he left the servant there. And he ran away into the other place, into wilderness, and he went alone. And I don't know, why he need to run from his own servant, and again into another wilderness. And he, the words for it says that he found a juniper tree and ricus and himself is his own conversation, talk about it. One of the major things happens when people are stressed out. They run away from our community. They run away from community. They run away from everything, and that they're trying to isolate themselves. And this is one of the symptoms that you've been. You feel sometimes that, and I don't want to talk to, even maybe we live in our same roof. And we become so much of depressed. We so much stress about it with the anger. And he said, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to anyone. Just to become loneless. This is one of the signs. Think about it. Don't entertain those. And here is that another one he comes up out actually. And and he himself says that he requested for himself and he might die. Ooh. A man of God thinking about death? Whoa. And that's what the anger and the fear that brings out in a human life. And he's prayed even. It is enough, Lord. Take my life. He knows actually is the Lord to take his life. But he says that, Lord, enough is enough. This is something that we battle ourselves, many times. Maybe in the leadership position, maybe in our own workplaces, in our own workplaces when the stress goes up, and how are we going to be, especially the children? The stress comes out in the colleges and everything, and the studies and everything. How do we manage our life? And we think about that. And the third part, he said actually, I'm not better than my fathers. The self-pity that comes in, that's so dangerous. How can we overcome it? We always compare with somebody else. We always compare with somebody else, so bigger and say that, hey, I'm not good. That's what happens into Elijah's life. How can I And here's a good news for you. Maybe you go through these 3 categories, 3 symptoms that have been shown up in Elijah's life. Maybe something that, but God is saying that, in the word of God, it says that in the 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, it says that no temptation has overtaken you that is common to man. It is true, but God is faithful. And He will let you tempt it beyond your abilities. The God is allowed to do it, and we need to understand these are the emotions that you need to make use of it to connect to God. That's what he wanted. He allows these things to bring in ourselves and says that you're helpless, I'm here. And that is a child of God's attitude. You're not running away. You're not running away from people. You don't need to feel about death. You don't need to feel about the pity of yourself. And you need to think about, hey, there's a God. I can call him up. And that's what, this morning I want to talk to you about it. I want to say there is a hope into that. We always decide to escape. Yes, many of us, including me sometimes, I'm an introvert. When the things just grows, make more and more stress, I try to, invert more and more. And think about it. So we need to see actually how do we understand? We need to seek after him. And he's available. Psalms 14, chapter 2, where it says that he is available. He's looking for us, from the heavens. And we need to see actually that, our time is up for, we're going to be, we look at only the Elijah story and see, where do we able to reach out. And there is a community that he left us into us. There is a community, there is a family, there is a people who love. And you need to make use of those moments. And how can I be there in this moment of my crisis, in this moment of struggles, my own struggles? It may be a real or maybe in a reality. That's what the another part of emotional, the stress out. It may not be, it may be a virtual. It's something that your mind plays with it. And how do we tackle with that? How do you tackle with that? And you have a community of church. You have a community of faith. And you find someone you find a confidence and to share, talk. And it's always sometimes, we fear of, talking to someone. Sure. But that you need to be informed that person, I'm looking for somebody who's been poured out. It's not need to be reacted. I want to be just somebody to be listened to me. And we want to hear that. How do we to use that opportunities for our friendship circle? And stop, feeling self-pity. And you don't need to compare with the others. And you are unique in yourself. There's no perfect people in this world. You need to understand. You need to tell yourself. You need to look at the mirror and say that, and I'm beautiful. I'm handsome. I have abilities, every abilities. You need to tell yourself. And also Elijah's life, we heard a story after that, what happens? He went to sleep. And that's what, many of us needed actually. And if you feel so stressed out, go and sleep well. Go and sleep well. Eat. That's what, the angel of the Lord said, called him up and said, eat and eat, eat. That's what, he said, eat. And he drank. I don't know who brought him into the wilderness. The angel of the Lord, it says that. Right? And he says he brought him actually 2 times. It's not only just once. And he brought it 2 times and, he's like, say, hey, get up. Hey, you're exhausted. You've been running. You've been doing a lot of things into it. And there's a time to rest. And many of us is a kind of, the activists, like, people who've been run after day, hours after hours. And you need to think about it and say that, I need to take some rest. I need to take some rest. I need to have some food. I need to, to feel my body to relax. That's exactly what, Elijah said. It's one of the other things. And from there, I want to close it on this day. When we think about death, we think about life is ever over, the cross, the dead end, the life is reached to dead end. The God is saying that I have something more you to do it. I have something more you to do it. That's what the God says that. Angel of the Lord says that, hey, get up and eat. And you have a longer journey to run. You have a far long journey actually than what you did last year, in the last few days. And he says that 2 days of meal, 2 times of meal is able to run 40 days of travel. Wow. And it's such an amazing thing. When you sing about, when you're taking rest and you're having that thing, and it's basically, when you feed this God's word in your heart, in your life, and that become a kind of nourishes your mind, nourishes your that could be happen that. I don't think that is a food that we able to feed him, of course. But then I believe much before, much more than that, it's a much more than that, like, he might have, feel that, fed himself that the thoughts about God in his own life. And he says that, you get up and talk, you get up and walk, and then he says that, verse 15, he says that, God said to him, the word of the Lord came to him, go and return to your way to wilderness of Damascus. And when you have arrived, you shall anoint Hazael the king of Aram. And verse 16, he says that, and Jehu the son of Nimshi, you shall anoint the king over Israel, where he ran away from Israel. And now God is asking him to go back into Israel and anoint Nimshi. And he's also saying that, and Elisha is the son of Shaphat, and you shall anoint him a prophet in your place. Such an amazing God's plan, his own life. Is Elijah's life. And think about Elijah is about to die. He said that, Lord, finish it off everything. But he's a God who says that I have a lot of plans for you. And it's true for each of us. Maybe in our workplaces we have a stressful. Maybe in our home we have a stressful. But God says that, hey, don't limit yourself. Cling on to me. I have a better plans. I have a plans for you to bless others. And he did 2 kings. Wow. Is a prophet, is an anointed 2 kings. Wow. And the prophet is another prophet has been anointed. And think about each one of our lives. When we goes through this situations, the COVID and all these things, maybe you lost your job. Maybe it's the tensions in the class, and maybe unable to cope up, maybe in online sessions or something like that. Maybe you're on the crossroads. What to do with the life? There is a God who says that, cling on to me. Cling on to me. And I want to leave this moment with you actually on that. Maybe the rest of the things we will see later, what the Lord is leading us into it. And we want to see actually how can we, to be aligned with, and the lot of uncertainties in this moment, especially that it's very alarming. It's very alarming that even in this year there is a lot of the artists, like actors and the actresses, and the businessmen. Think about it. It's not about their lack of money or anything. There is something that they're never able to access it. They were unable to look for themselves. So I would like to look at today and take an inventory of yourselves. And I would encourage you to take off an inventory of yourself. How's your feelings? How's your anchor? How's your sadness that you're treating yourself? Or you say that, it's okay. It's create a marks in each one of our conscious and subconscious mind. And how are we dealing with that? That's the best thing. Go to him. He's looking after. He's looking from the above, and he says that, hey, I'm here. I'm looking for your own children. And I want to share this morning that the God has a better plans for you. God has a better plans for you. May God bless these words.